Next, on PJ Radio's The Unconventionals.
This is Small Business Saturday, so we're out here supporting small businesses.
What did you buy?
It is a long list, but some outstanding books. I've got every age group, from 5 until 52. We all set?
You are all set.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, guys. Have a great holiday.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
I'm Mike O'Toole, and this is The Unconventionals. Lots of the stories we tell on The Unconventionals are small stories, told at a human scale. Higher Ground Farms is a great example. It's a couple of University of Vermont grads who overcome a lot of obstacles to start their own farm on a rooftop in the city of Boston. We also occasionally get to tell some big stories, and they don't get bigger than Small Business Saturday. Not many marketing campaigns are promoted publicly by the President of the United States or are enshrined as an official day. In 2011, the United States Senate voted unanimously to declare the Saturday after Thanksgiving Small Business Saturday. This day and the associated Shop Small initiative have become part of the culture, and they impact literally billions of dollars of revenue for tens of thousands of small retailers. So how does something this big happen? It was an initiative launched by American Express, but all the things you might expect of a corporate campaign, that it's proprietary, that there's strings attached, that it's tightly controlled, or there's an explicit commercial interest, none of that is a part of Small Business Saturday. And this was deliberate from the beginning. This is what makes the campaign unique and what has enabled it to become not just a campaign, but a movement. Our guest today is Ann Fitzmaurice Reilly, the Senior Vice President at American Express who led the charge. We'll also be talking to a few small businesses in Austin, Texas, who see the Shop Small movement as their own. Ann led marketing at American Express Open, which is Amex's division to market to small businesses. To start, I asked her if Small Business Saturday was a way of promoting American Express's commercial interests.
Well, let me go back to sort of the history of Small Business Saturday, if that would be would be helpful. So, because we have a long history with small business, we do a lot of research. We have a lot of discussion with small businesses, so that we're basically tapped into what are their most pressing needs, so we can try to address those needs. And the mission of American Express Open is to help businesses do more business. So in 2010, we did our annual research. We do a survey called the Small Business Monitor to really understand what are small businesses' needs, how are they feeling, what's their optimism. And for the first time in 26 years, the number one need was no longer help me with my taxes. Suddenly, the number one need coming out of the recession was help me get more customers. So that really was a light bulb for us to say, wow, there's got to be something that we can do here. We have a large consumer base that does a lot of spending across both large and small businesses, and we did some research with them as well. And 93% of consumers said they understood that small businesses were the way the economy was going to come back. 93% of them said they wanted to support small businesses in their community. So it was really an initiative that we put together in 6 weeks, which is pretty amazing for a large company.
So you had 2010, this research came out. We were coming out of the Great Recession. So how does it go from that? You have a documented need in a way, and how did it go from that to there's this initiative?
Right. So the idea was I really just came about through some brainstorming of what can we do to tap into both of these needs and desires for consumers to help small businesses and for small businesses to get more customers. So the idea was, hey, we're getting into the holiday season. It was October timeframe. Is there something we could do around that holiday season? So it really came out of some brainstorming. And because of also the timing of the fact that now social media was really a big channel, we actually marketed it through social media, came up with this idea of Small Business Saturday, and said, let's find a day and create a day that small businesses can actually capture their fair share of the holiday shopping and really kick off the season in a big way. So it created a way for us to do a national advertising campaign to support small businesses and also give small businesses the tools to market to their customers. And it became the fastest growing Facebook page up until that time during 2010, and really just was lightning in a bottle, took off, and now we're about to launch. This year it will be year 5 of Small Business Saturday.
Let me stop here for a second. I run an ad agency, and agencies like to talk about big ideas. Naming the day after Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, is a huge idea. It's powerful, it's simple, it's immediately graspable. It leverages and extends what's important in the culture. It's connected to what American Express does, but not at all parochial. So I asked Marianne who came up with such an idea. And as you'd expect, like many great ideas, it has many authors. But when I pressed her, she did say that someone in corporate affairs deserves a little more credit than others. Well done, whoever you are. Now, great ideas go nowhere unless they're played out the right way. We know of Small Business Saturday as a big, enduring part of the business culture today, but it didn't have to be that way. It could have been just another ad campaign. But clearly, American Express had something bigger and broader in mind from the beginning. Marianne told a story about the official launch of Small Business Saturday in 2010. Hours after a press conference with New York City Mayor Bloomberg, American Express CEO Ken Chenault was barraged with requests from major corporations who wanted in. American Express decided to invite other big brands to support the day. In fact, last year, Small Business Saturday had over 160 corporate partners. But just as critical was the conditions American Express set for participating. This couldn't be about self-promotion or selling. It had to be for the benefit of small businesses. So how does that work with other companies? Because I imagine you don't want them selling their product or...
No, because we're very clear about the criteria of how they support. It has to be about giving value to small businesses, marketing the day on behalf of small businesses, and not selling their products. So, for example, we've had FedEx as a partner since year one. FedEx is very focused on small businesses. They provide free printing of the posters that they can hang in their store windows. There's this past year we had the U.S. Postal Service who actually shipped out all of our collateral. We provide small businesses with Shop Small shopping bags and doormats for the door. And we had Facebook and Twitter providing free advertising for small businesses to market to their customers. So, and then beyond that, it's corporations who are marketing to their consumers today to say, get out and support your small business in your local community on the day.
So it was you said, I think it was companies coming together under American Express's leadership to provide value to small businesses, not to sell.
Right.
And it occurs to me, if the goal is to provide value, you're not going to get in trouble with people trying to promote themselves, right? It seems like people are signing up for that, being useful to customers as opposed to trying to promote a commercial interest, and that's got to keep everyone aligned.
Yes. And it was it has kept everyone aligned. I think from year one, we've said there's no exclusivity in partnering with us because it's not about us. It is about the small businesses. It is not about your products unless you are offering value that supports the day, such as the free printing or free shipping. And it, I have to say, it's not a difficult discussion. Everyone really understands, and it's been our belief from year one that if we help small businesses, the pie grows, the economy grows, and we all benefit.
I want to underscore a critical point here. Small Business Saturday would not have become what it was if American Express hadn't made a basic and unconventional decision. The day was not going to be about American Express. It was not going to be about driving credit card applications. It was not going to be a tightly controlled message or campaign. This had to be true to attract other big brands like FedEx, but it absolutely had to be true to pass the smell test with small retailers. How much does American Express own Small Business Saturday?
We were very clear from year one that Small Business Saturday, we didn't own it. That Small Business Saturday was, we were creating this movement and this day for small businesses. It was not about us. So we specifically called ourselves founding partner, and meaning partner of small business. We created the day, and we are proud of the fact that we created the day, but we don't own it. And in fact, in that first press conference when Ken Chenault announced the day that we were creating, he was asked that question of, well, are you just promoting this to American Express card members? And he said, no, this is about getting consumers off their couch and going out and supporting small businesses on this day. And if that means you're going to use cash or check or a competitive credit card, as long as you go and spend at a small business, then that's what we want you to do, and we'll be happy about that. And that's been very much the way we've also measured the success. It's about what are consumers spending at small businesses on that day, not just
about
with American
accounts
Express.
open for American Express
Exactly.
or something. Yeah. So it's co-owned in a way with a lot of other parties, including some of the other brands that have participated. Do you see? What about the retailers themselves? Have you seen them co-own it in a way, take ownership over this initiative?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, last year was another just an exciting sort of movement that we saw happen. It was actually started in 2012, and every year we go back and do a bit of a postmortem and say what worked, what was different this year, what felt different, what do we need to work on for next year. And in 2012, what we saw popping up that was really exciting was communities getting involved in it, communities creating events, getting their businesses in the community involved and actually promoting each other. In fact, in Detroit, one of the businesses created what they called a passport. And they literally had you created a passport. You would go to each business and they had a shop small stamp. You would get a stamp, and at the end of the day, you would get discounts based on shopping at other small businesses. How often do you see a business promote another small business?
Oh, so this was a retailer, not like a Chamber of Commerce
this
or
was
something.
This was a retailer.
What's the name of the company? Can you share it?
It was Pure Detroit in Detroit. So, and that's something that now is, we literally took that idea because we're not shy about taking great ideas and then sharing it elsewhere. And they were very proud of that. But that one idea, as well as the other 50 or so communities that we saw pop up, gave us the idea for 2013, which was to create what we call the Ambassador Program, where we actually did promote this to chambers of commerce in a much bigger way than we had in the past. We created an online toolkit to say, go out and we actually had a requirement. If you want to be part of this ambassador program, you need to sign up at least 10 small businesses in your community, create some kind of an event, tell us what you're doing, and we will provide you with collateral. So we'll give you signage and promotional posters for the town and banners to hang across the street and the doormats for each of the doors of the small businesses. And we said we would be happy if we got 500 communities, and we got close to 1,500. In fact, we had to shut it down because we just ran out of
so many
collateral.
doormats.
Only so many. We weren't prepared for the volume.
Right.
So that was a really exciting breakthrough that happened last year, and I think that's really was just a watershed moment of. This has really been embraced by the small businesses and by the communities, more importantly, because it really is about your community and your Main Street.
Well, yeah, it's because it seems like maybe that's how you define a movement. A movement evolves in ways that you can't predict.
Exactly.
And you didn't really see that coming, but it sounds like the strategy has been to respond quickly on your part. If you see it, feed it, and
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's worked really well. It's evolved every year. In the beginning, it was about just building awareness. Then it moved to getting small businesses to own the day and really leverage the tools that we made available to them. And now it's moved to it's about the neighborhood.
We talked to a couple of small retailers in Austin, Texas, in the city's 2nd Street district. Julie Sutton is their marketing director and one of the community ambassadors Mary Ann talked about. When Julie talks about Small Business Saturday, it is impossible to separate from other initiatives they run to promote their retailers. Here's Julie talking about their holiday window walk, where they provide scholarships to local students who decorate storefronts in the district. Long before Small Business Saturday, they used Window Walk to drive traffic. Now, Small Business Saturday and the Holiday Window Walk reinforce each other, all to the benefit of her retailers.
The first Small Business Saturday that the entire Second Street District participated in was 2012. And that was the second year that we had done the Holiday Window Walk. So we made sure that the unveiling of the windows correlated with Small Business Saturday. I really do appreciate the fact that it is kind of a one-size-fits-all movement and that you don't have to fit any strict parameters. By the way, if Austin had to fit any strict guidelines, nothing would happen. I mean, everyone here has to branch out and do their own thing. We're not Dallas. We're not Houston. In fact, the Second Street District is different than far up north with the other mainstream shopping centers. So we want to make sure that we have our own flavor. Before, traditionally, we wanted to say, okay, Black Friday, we've got to do something to generate that interest. Now we really have a set plan and a guideline, a template to go by and say, okay, it's Small Business Saturday. That's when our windows are going to be unveiled. And it just kicks off the season really well.
We'll continue our conversation with Ann Fitzmaurice Reilly of American Express after the break. We'll talk with her about measurement and specifically holding the Small Business Saturday campaign accountable. I'm Mike O'Toole, and this is the Unconventionals.
You're listening to PJ Radio's The Unconventionals. If you'd like to learn more about the show or join in on the conversation, check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/unconventionalsradio. Our academic sponsor for The Unconventionals is a Center on Global Brand Leadership at Columbia Business School, which turns the research of academia's foremost thinkers on branding into practical tools and insight for real-world application. For more information, visit globalbrands.org.
Welcome back. We're talking with Ann Fitzmaurice Reilly of American Express about Small Business Saturday. It's pretty clear that Small Business Saturday wasn't conceived of as a typical campaign, so you certainly couldn't hold it accountable by standard measures. But American Express invests many millions of dollars every year. They have to look at what they're getting for that money. I want to talk about getting credit, and because this is not a commercial enterprise for you guys, and that's clear. But at some point, it probably feels important that people connect it to American Express. And so I know in my hometown, there's retailers who put out cardboard signs that say things like Shop Small Saturday or Shop Local Saturday. And I don't know if they connect that to American Express. Does that bother you if they don't? If there's...
No, yes, I would love to get credit for it because, of course, you feel like we created this, and the fact that many people don't know that, it's a little bit of an ego thing that you feel like, well, how could you not know that? We created this, and it's going into year 5. But more importantly, the fact that whether you call it Shop Small Saturday or Shop Small Weekend or Shop Small Local, it has become a movement that these small businesses are embracing. And if I can walk down the street and see that, and we are seeing the small businesses gaining those sales. I mean, in 2013, we saw spend go up from $5.5 billion at small businesses on the day to $5.7 billion in 2013. And that was on a weekend where large retailers saw spend decrease on Black Friday as well as over the course of the weekend. So that was really a bright spot in that holiday shopping weekend, and that feels good. And if it takes small businesses owning it in their own way and evolving it in their own way, that's okay. And there are small businesses that don't accept American Express, and they're still able to promote the day. And if they don't mention us, they're leveraging something that American Express has created. And if they remember that or think of that at some point, that's great. If they don't, it's still contributing to the overall movement.
Small Business Saturday is an initiative to lift up the small business sector. So the measures American Express cares most about is the health of that sector. The revenue growth figure that Mary Ann shared is a pretty direct way to look at it. But we asked one of the small business owners in Austin's 2nd Street district to make the connection. How does Small Business Saturday help his business and others in his community?
I'm Sean Baer from Milk and Honey. We're an Austin-based spa and salon. I think a lot of small businesses fail because of a lack of marketing support. Ultimately, if you have a good product, you can't just depend on people seeing your sign and coming into your store. You have to market, and it can be very expensive. Things like Small Business Saturday provide small businesses with foot traffic, provide them with considerable advertising resources, and those considerable advertising resources, I imagine for some businesses, make the difference between having a slow day or a busy day.
American Express looks at sales growth for local retailers, but it goes deeper than that. Certainly, Mary Ann and others find themselves in meetings where they're asked to quantify the impact of the program. So I asked her, what are some of the key measurements you look at?
We look at a lot of key metrics, but I would say most important is awareness of the day by both small businesses and consumers, obviously importantly. We look at the tools that are downloaded by small businesses, which really is the engagement. This past year, we looked at the number of neighborhoods who leverage the ambassador program. We look at the number of times Small Business Saturday is mentioned in the press, particularly in terms of where it's mentioned in the conversation about Black Friday and Cyber Monday, where it's clear that it's become a movement. And we look at sales on the day. I mean, importantly, that's ultimately the key measure is, are more consumers supporting small businesses on that day? And ultimately, as it becomes more and more of a movement, it's not just about the day. That's why we created Shop Small, and a lot of the permanent collateral is Shop Small, so that one day is really to trigger the thought with consumers that it is important to support your small businesses. And that, to me, is really a kickoff to supporting for the rest of the holiday season and hopefully for the rest of the year. That's where I really think the ongoing initiative that where you see more and more of just Shop Small around
not
for the rest of the year and not attached to Small Business Saturday, it's become it's really has had this halo effect and has a long tail beyond the day.
Yeah. You look at spending increases in the small business retail sector. Have you seen anything else along those lines, like longer-term shifts in spending from big retailers to small retailers, growth in overall spending?
We don't look at the shift from big retailers to small retailers because that's not really the intention. I mean, we certainly don't want the bigger retailers to suffer. They're customers and partners of ours as well. It's really about just giving a share of your holiday spending to small businesses. So we look at really the small business spending, and it's both qualitative and quantitative. So we do the quantitative research to understand how consumers are spending and how much they're spending at small businesses. We look at our spending to see if we can see some trends on the day with American Express. And we talk to small businesses and ask them what increases in spend they saw on the day. And that's important as well, just to understand the year-over-year growth as they market Small Business Saturday. What are they seeing? And that's been really the most important point, is the excitement from these small businesses themselves, where they talk about seeing 80% lift in spending from that day or that weekend from the prior year. And that's really what it's all about.
And do you, and this may be hard to do, but have you tracked an increase in American Express business measures as against Small Business Saturday, account openings, transaction volume?
No, I mean, we look at transaction volume, but really as an indicator of volume holistically going to small businesses, because if we're seeing a lift in transaction volume with small businesses on American Express, typically that coincides with the lifts that we see in overall spending on all payment products with small businesses. We do not promote account openings. That's not the objective. So it's not something that we're tracking, and it's not. We've been very pure about Small Business Saturday, of not allowing any of our Small Business Saturday, the website or any of the materials to link to or try to promote our own products. It's really about the day and promoting small businesses.
Part of Small Business Saturday and its no-strings-attached support of small businesses reminds me of what Converse is doing with Rubber Track Studio. We featured the Rubber Track Studio story on an Unconventionals episode last season. Basically, Converse opened a world-class recording studio in Brooklyn, staff it with top-tier producers, and give musicians access to it for free, with no hidden agenda. In return, Converse gets a tremendous amount of goodwill, not to mention publicity, from musicians, who are a core customer base. I asked Marianne if small businesses end up advocating for American Express in the same way.
So very similarly, just small businesses going out. If you go to our site, shopsmall.com, you will see videos of small businesses talking about the day. Who better to talk about Small Business Saturday and American Express, if they choose to talk about American Express, than our own customers? So definitely favorability of small businesses towards American Express is a nice added benefit. It's not one of our key metrics, but it definitely is something that we've seen is, from a brand perspective, when you are creating something that has become a movement and is so positive, favorability towards the brand is clearly something that's a nice outcome.
It's important to recognize that American Express sees themselves as a founding sponsor, but not the star of the show. Success is measured in growth of Shop Small, but also the success of small businesses overall. If I can say it, there's a sense of humility that you don't often associate with global brands. Perhaps the ultimate measure of the success of the campaign is that at this point, it's strong enough to continue on with or without American Express. Here's Julie Sutton again from Austin's 2nd Street Retail District.
If American Express stepped away, I don't know who would take the reins, but I don't know if necessarily anyone needs to take the reins. Maybe the carriage just goes off by itself, and I think that that's okay too, because right now it's in the hands of the local business owners, and I think that they're fully capable to do with it what they will and make it a wonderful experience for the consumer.
Small Business Saturday is unique in its scale and in its impact, but the principle of brands playing a role that are bigger than selling products or promoting their commercial interests is catching on. Let's talk to David Rogers, director of the Center for Global Brand Leadership at Columbia. So one thing that makes Small Business Saturday different than any other campaign, and I suppose you might not even call it a campaign, is that it's not really controlled by American Express. They're a founding sponsor, but they don't control it. They never intended to control it. And
Right.
as it evolved, Marianne talked about how it moved from, hey, American Express was really driving it the first year, but then they really started to get the retailers to take on more ownership, and then the communities.
And that's what's happening with powerful marketing these days and brands, is that the company still has a central role to sort of initiate and conceive ideas and be an innovator, but it's not trying to do the whole job. You're thinking about your customers as networks, whether they're end consumers or business customers, and networks of networks. So you're moving from, ideally in a case like this, the company initiating idea to, as you said, the businesses, like in Detroit and elsewhere, picking up the idea and bringing it to life, taking it to the next stage, to communities, right? With these communities that if they each, 1,500 of them, and if they each get enough companies participating, then it's coming to life. And global is, I guess, the next stage. And how do you bring this idea, adapt it, maybe locally to different markets? Again, it's all about expanding a network of participation beyond the brand that started it, but keeping the brand as a core element throughout.
Thanks for joining us. We love your comments and are always on the hunt for great unconventional business stories. Let us know what you think on facebook.com/unconventionalsradio. Join us next time when we'll be talking with Dave Engberg, founder and chief technology officer of Evernote.
The Unconventionals is written and produced by Mike O'Toole and Reed Mangan. Post-production and technical direction by Reed Mangan with Emmanuel Ording and Anthony Gentles. Promotion and social strategy by Greg Straface and Graham Spector with Tori O'Neill. Our creative director is Aaron De Silva. Our executive producer is Phil Johnson for PJA Advertising and Marketing. I'm Jafia Leahy. To hear more episodes of The Unconventionals, visit pjaradio.com.
This is PJA Radio.